Dancing in VR is the visual analog of singing in the shower. In your mind, you're Fred Astaire gracefully gliding about the dance floor. To those watching, you're an insane person spastically swatting at ephemera only you can see. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing. At parties, such public humiliation is all part of the fun, and alone, well, there's no one around to watch you make a fool of yourself. In my previous video, I talked about Box VR, another rhythm music title that I use as part of my nightly exercise routine, and while Synth Riders is also a rhythm music title, its feel is completely different. What does that mean? Well, like most other games in this genre, such as Beat Saber and Box VR, the concept comes down to using your hands to interact with incoming brightly colored geometric shapes while ducking and dodging barriers in time to music. Likewise, the shape's colors determine which hand to use, blue for left, red for right. Green chains must be consistently hit with either your left or right hand from start to finish, while orange spheres must be hit with both. Now, by the way I'm describing it, it sounds like I'm not very enthusiastic about the game itself. But nothing could be further from the truth. You see, a raw technical description of how a game is played is limited by its nature. Accurate as far as it goes, but incomplete. Let me give you an example. One could reduce a description of Half-Life Alyx's mechanics to travel through buildings, pick up weapons, shoot monsters, sob in corner. Anyone who has played it would agree that that would be an injustice to the masterful experience Valve so meticulously crafted. In much the same way, Synth Riders' core gameplay doesn't add much to the standard dance game formula, but it shines as an experience. Upon loading Synth Riders for the first time, you'll be immediately struck by its retro neon aesthetic. And by the time you reach the end of Neon Sunsets Tonight, a spot-on 80s pastiche, you'll be drawn in, or depending on your age, taken back. After a quick run-through of the tutorial, you're ready to start riding the Neon Highway. The stages are colorful, varied, and only minimally animated, but the choices are plentiful. And even on a lightweight graphics card, the frame rate is buttery smooth. Streaks of color envelop you, begging you to continue onward to the end. Seriously, this is exactly how we in the 80s imagined what VR would be. Sliding along Tron's energetic lightways to heart-pumping anthems as giant chrome heads watched over us. Simply uncanny. First, the solo experience. The game comes with music packs, more on that later, from different labels and collections, all very synth-heavy but thematically compatible. You pick one and a difficulty level and get started. Provided you don't miss too many spheres, you reach the end and receive a score which can be compared to others on the leaderboard. See how well you did against your friends, as appropriate. On harder difficulties, and given enough time, this works pretty well as a low-impact aerobic exercise. I've started mixing it into the nightly sessions for a change of pace. Since you're always facing in the same direction, those using a cabled solution should find no difficulty getting tangled up. Multiplayer is effectively the same. You create a room, you chat with others, then compete for the highest score. It does just what it needs to do. Now, the heart and soul of any music dance game is the music itself. Right at the start, Synth Riders has a generous selection of tunes, again all appropriately synth-heavy, with new collections being introduced all the time. In fact, what drove me to finally purchase Synth Riders was the introduction of its Electro Swing DLC. Those tunes just kind of grabbed me right away and made me hit the purchase button, and I'm kind of glad it did. Speaking of tunes, the game supports custom beatmaps directly from the main menu, as it should, and the Synth Riders beatmap editor is available for free on the Steam store. The game also supports custom stages and avatars. Well, which avatars would those be? Well, say you were at the aforementioned party and the people awaiting their turn are watching your monitor. Now, instead of the standard view most VR games show, a mirror of what you see in your headset, Synth Riders lets you pick your own view from a variety of first and third person perspectives. When the observer is in third person, your avatar appears. The avatars can track hands, chest, and feet if you have the equipment for it, and it's pretty spiffy and makes for great footage, and entertains spectator or a fantastic attract mode if you run a VR arcade. The thing I hope you take away is that while Synth Riders won't wow anyone with its play mechanics, it really doesn't have to, because it will captivate you by its very presentation and well-crafted experience. So if you're into the dance game genre or a fan of the 80s and early 90s aesthetic, you'll love it. This homage is a love letter to the flash of colorful lights and the joyful abandon of music wrapped in tight gameplay, great tunes, and energetic, captivating design. Synth Riders was developed and published by Kluge Interactive. Well, as an old-school developer, I'm not going to pronounce it Kluge out of respect. You can find it on the Steam and Oculus stores for between $16.99 and $19.99, and at either price, the sheer play value and the amount of content makes it worth your while, even more so when it's on sale. So that's our review of Synth Riders. If you played it, what was your experience? Please leave a comment below and let us know. Also, feel free to add any questions or suggestions you might have. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking it and subscribing. It would be greatly appreciated and really helps a lot. Thanks for watching.